And welcome back to Hannity. We go back to Steve Harrigan. We've been reporting all night, shots fired. Police car is on fire right now. And as you can see, there's a cell phone store right outside of where Steve Harrigan is, where it is being looted as we speak at this very minute. Steve, what's going on?
Sean, much of the protest here is on Florissant Avenue. This is one of the few stores that was not boarded up. Just minutes ago, we heard the crack of glass. This window was smashed. A number of people running in and out over the last few minutes. It's pretty empty right now, but we're hearing the smash of glass in other stores down the street as well. There was a pretty heavy looting problem back in August. This is one of the few businesses that decided, we're hearing smashes across the street too, one of the few businesses that decided not to board up its windows, and it's been hit pretty hard just minutes ago, Sean.
You know, one has to wonder how it is that in some way somebody thinks that this somehow makes a statement about the event. I don't care where you stand. If maybe you don't like the decision for whatever reason, maybe you didn't believe the narrative. But is this really going to advance your cause? Looting, setting cop cars on fire, throwing rocks and bottles, starting fires, shooting bullets in the air, as we had a report earlier tonight. You would think that you would think that maybe we can find a more constructive way to express disagreement.
These small independent businesses, and most of them had just real fear about what could happen again. Some of them thinking about relocating if they can. Many got some money from insurance. We're hearing more smashing glass. Dutch, if you could turn over there across the street. Looks like the McDonald's getting hit. Sean, we're going to walk over there and see if we can get this as it's happening. A lot of people did get some insurance money, and
it looks like it's still open, Steve.
The people it's not open. You can see someone with a bat there smashing through the window.
Right there.
Let's go see what we can see here.
So, there's a guy right outside of the McDonald's banging the bat to break into the store. Yep,
that's what it looks like. Yeah, it's actually a young lady.
Yeah. By the way, earlier we reported, one of our reporters said it was tear gas, but it was one of these.
There we go. And now the Ferguson Meat Market and Liquor is being hit. They gave up on the McDonald's window. We're going to try and keep a safe distance and still show you what's happening. The meat market and liquor store is being hit.
This is live now in Ferguson. Steve Harrigan on the ground. There was an attempt to break into the McDonald's and break the window there. I saw the window just shatter, Steve.
Looks like, that's right, that was a baseball bat, but it looks like there's a juicier target here, the meat and liquor market. It's like about 50 people out in front.
Police just left. They did this before. They let the places get looted. They should have stayed. They don't care about the black boy.
See.
Yeah, I saw another window break, and there people are going in right now.
Yep. There seems to be sort of a carnival atmosphere. A lot of people, there's a man carrying a handful of products, seem to have big smiles and grins. Nothing somber or serious about this group at all in the wake of what's happened. This is a group with a different agenda. They've got really many of their sweatshirts filled with items from Ferguson Market and Liquor, a store that tried to board up, a store that has artwork from the fallen Michael Brown on the windows, but a store that's now getting looted as we speak.
You know, Steve, as you point out, this has very little to do with what happened in this shooting or Michael Brown or even the decision. And we know that there have been agitators that have been training now for a long period of time leading up to this, and specific targets were laid out. Are these two of the very few stores that didn't put up some type of plywood or boarding or covering?
You're exactly right. It's really a ghost town pretty much down this entire street.
Yeah.
This is one of the two or three that's really took a high risk of remaining open.
What are people saying is that you've been running into people all night, Steve? What is the general atmosphere? What are they saying? Are they even mentioning what happened in terms of the decision of the grand jury?
We're really seeing two very different moods. One is a real anger with cursing and swearing and a sort of a sense that you're in danger when you're around a lot of really angry young men. The other is a sort of glee and excitement of running to get what you can, and that's what's happening here. Now, there's been a lot of different groups, as you know, Sean, throughout this process. There are some serious protesters. There are some hardcore groups that are trying to cause violence, and then there are people like this, people who are just sort of tagging on. You can see this woman here. Let's ask her what she's got. Hey, ma'am, can I talk to you? Yeah. She's got a big bottle of gin in her hand.
She's got.
We're going to see what people have got.
Looks like the
here.
McDonald's got broke into there. Can we pan back to the McDonald's, Steve? It looked like that side entrance had gotten broken into, at least from my perspective. I mean, I see what's happening there at this liquor store, but can you pan back and look again at the McDonald's? It looked like one of the side windows might have been broken into there.
The side window has been broken in the McDonald's, Sean.
Yeah.
I can show you right over here. Hey, Dutch, we're going to show.
Are people inside?
You can take a pretty good look here. This has been smashed in. There's no one inside.
Okay. You know,
but
it's
let's
interesting.
Get a closer look at this meat market because there's a lot of activity up here.
You know, one of the things one has to wonder, I think you used the term carnival atmosphere here. I mean, this is just using what has happened here in Ferguson as an excuse to just go out there and rob and loot, and obviously has zero or nothing to do with justice whatsoever.
Looks like we got a stash here of some New Amsterdam Citron vodka and an orange mixer. If you could pan down and show that.
Hey, man, fuck them, fuck.
All right, we heard that. Excuse us, those watching at home. This is live television. What about all the people that have these masks on like that guy? How many people are covering themselves? Uh-oh. All right, as you can see, we lost Steve Harrigan's shot.
That camera got knocked out.
That camera got knocked out.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Is he all right?
Well, we're going to find out. We'll report back to our audience in just a second.
The FBI grabbed 2 of them with pipe bombs. They arrested 2 with
the new
pipe
Black Panther Party.
Right, exactly.
You know, with the crime situation in urban America, it is inevitable you're going to have confrontations between young black men and cops. It's going to happen. That's why Bo and I joined the Brown family in advocating for body cameras on these cops.
But were you impressed with the prosecutor and how he laid out the diligence?
He was very dignified. I thought McCullough did an excellent job. So. He was very measured. You can argue, you know, you could have rigged the grand jury to get an indictment if you wanted to.
Why are we talking about the structural
hang on,
issues?
I got to get to Mike Tobin. He's standing by.
No, this isn't.
I'm standing by outside. I'm not sure the location there. Mike, what do you got?
Well, we're back in front of the fire department and the police station, and what we've seen is they've pretty effectively cleared off this street. This is South Florissant Road. But what we have now in front of us, and we're just coming in to get a look at it, is a large concentration of police with the tactical vehicles. Here's one of the Bearcat vehicles. You see a couple of the police SUVs and a fire SUV, and now we have this large concentration of police in riot gear. Now, some of them, right off here to my right shoulder, appear at the ready. And then we've got a woman there with the megaphone. Looks like she's taunting the police officers in the tactical gear. Now, some of that looks like they've got some live weaponry, active weaponry. All right, they're waving us off. I'm going to back up in this direction. Couple of vehicles. You got one, really a small number of demonstrators. It looks like they're taunting them.
Hang on,
and
Mike.
They're getting behind the Bearcat
We got to take a
vehicle.
quick break here. We have the very latest. Stay right there. We'll go back to Mike Tobin and much more with Fox News Channel's coverage with Shepard Smith standing by next.
And live coverage continues now from Ferguson, continuing with the same look at our own Mike Tobin. Mike, to you. As we work to establish communications with Mike, we'll continue to watch his camera and this large group of police, which he had described coming toward him. We're also working to reestablish communication with our correspondent, Steve Harrigan, who was outside the meat market there and liquor store when something happened to his camera. We believe that the cable which is attached to the camera and allows them to send live pictures was disconnected. It's our hope that it was nothing more than that, but we're working to establish communications with them, and frankly, I'm hopeful that nothing has happened to Steve Harrigan. Mike Tobin's with us again. Mike, tell us what you're seeing.
Well, what we're seeing right now is a large concentration of the officers with the riot gear at the ready. Some of them with the lighter riot gear, some of them with a big, heavy tactical gear. It looks like they're taking cover behind one of the Bearcat vehicles here. And on the other side of the vehicle, Bobby, if we can take a walk across the street, what you can see is a small leftover concentration of demonstrators over here, and they've got loudspeakers, megaphones, if you will, and it looks like they're really trying to taunt these police officers, and we've seen that a lot through this process. They stand back, they say all sorts of inflammatory things. The police officers generally ignore them. And this is, as far as this particular road, what's left of the demonstrators. We had big numbers out here now. You saw what happened earlier. The crowd has largely been dispersed. Small number of demonstrators who are here at the moment, Shep.
Steve, for our I should say, Mike, for our viewers, our Steve Harrigan is fine. It was a camera connection that was lost. I'm told that our photographer is fine and Steve is fine, and he'll be able to bring us live reports from there in just a moment. Mike, guide us through it.
We cannot.
Well, as far as what we saw throughout the evening, we saw a large concentration of people out here come onto Florissant Road, block off all the traffic. They stood on top of vehicles as they turned up the radio to listen to the announcement of the verdict, or not the verdict, but the grand jury return. You heard the no bill, and largely they stopped listening. We saw people peel off of different sides of the crowds, running around. The crowd slowly but surely whipped into a frenzy. They went south on Florissant. We saw them have a conflict with police down there. We saw some trash cans go through windows of some of the businesses in that direction, and that's when we started getting the flashbangs coming out of the police. The acidic smell. I know some people are saying it wasn't tear gas. It sure felt to me like it was tear gas. Cleared off the street a number of times. The crowd would reform. We heard some gunfire. Cameraman says he saw a gun that was being fired into the air. I heard that pop, pop, pop. That progressed, and we've watched this line, if you will, of police in the tactical gear advance down the street, slowly but surely dispersing the crowd. We have seen the storefronts broken into. We have seen looting taking place, particularly at one of the beauty warehouses called Beauty World. The window was broken out. We saw people coming out carrying some of the beauty supplies. Something interesting, though, people from the crowd formed a human chain, if you will, in front of that beauty warehouse and stopped the looting in that particular store. It all happened rather quick, and now in this particular section of town, the crowd went from big and fired up to a small crowd. You still have some very vocal members of that crowd, though, Shep.
Stay with us, Mike. We're working to get back in touch with Steve Harrigan, who's at that market. This is the picture of the police car that's on fire, and I want to give you, for context, a little bit of what's happening around the country. This next picture is not Ferguson, Missouri. This is Los Angeles. And you can see the same sort of demonstration, hands in the air, the same sort of demonstrations that we were getting from Ferguson back in August, and certainly at times since then. This is a large intersection, obviously. I believe this is Figueroa, but at any rate, you can see that the transit buses are stopped. And if we move on down here, this is Times Square in New York City. This is the TKTS section. This is the risers where you stand, and just around the other side is where you get discount tickets in the heart of Times Square. This crowd has been building. The NYPD and the fire department are out. The police are out with motorcycles as well, and large groups of cops have begun to form. A lot of these protesters here have pre-made signs which suggest to us that all of this was planned, and we were told in advance that the FBI and other feds believed that organized demonstrations had been planned for different locations around the country. Los Angeles, New York, we were told it might happen in Washington, Atlanta, San Francisco, Detroit, and we're beginning to see that in some cities. Police out. This has been largely quiet. We've not seen New York police in any sort of display of open confrontation. In Los Angeles, the police are mostly staying away from the rest of the crowds, and it appears, at least in the early going now, though we have seen a few police cars in the area here, pretty much the people are just sort of blocking off the streets. Remember, of course, in Los Angeles, it's past 8 o'clock in the evening and the crowds are building, and again, the fire that's burning in Ferguson. Back to Mike Tobin on scene. Mike, the fear had been that this would spread across the country. It is to some degree, but no violence anywhere else. Tell us what's happening where you are.
What we're seeing right now, it looks like the police officers are repositioning themselves. Again, we've got this large concentration, and they really don't seem to be engaging this small crowd. Largely, this particular street has been cleared out after a quick flare of activity, and there definitely was some looting. But now we're seeing some of the tactical officers with the non-lethal weaponry standing at the ready, kind of guarding either side. And this is all happening in front of the police and the fire stations here, Shep. But the crowd largely dispersed, and I can see down the road we got a fire burning down there, and it looks like a rather sizable one. I can get on foot now and start walking in that direction, Shep. I want to get a better look at what's happening down there. As we're looking now, here is what's left of the crowd standing, and you got a standoff, if you will, with the police officers. Here are the all of the tactical officers in their gear, the Bearcat vehicle, and down in that direction we've got, I don't know if you can get the shot yet, what appears to be a rather sizable fire. As I understand, that's in front of the Walgreens down there. We were in that direction earlier, and we did see that some of the weaponry that was fired, the non-lethal weaponry, it is incendiary, and that started a smaller fire in some brush. It doesn't seem like it would have caused something as big as what we're looking at down the road here, Shep. And I'm hearing now that it's 2 police cars. All right, I've got one person, a witness on the scene, telling me it's 2 police cars. Well, there you can see we got some pretty big fires burning, and crowd gathered around it. Oh. Hang on, I'm hung up on somebody's wire.
For viewers who are just joining us, we're listening to Mike Tobin, who's on scene in Ferguson, Missouri. As crowds have gathered, fires are burning, looting has been reported. We've seen a market looted of liquor and the rest. We've seen windows blown out with baseball bats at a McDonald's, one that we had seen before. And now, Mike, the fires about which you speak are coming into screen. Tell us.
Yeah, I can definitely see one vehicle that's burning, and I think it's going to prove to be 2 cars that are burning, as I was told earlier. And that we did not see started by the police, the non-lethal weaponry that the police had deployed out here. A small line of police in front of the burning vehicles. You can see them standing there, some with riot shields, some with the non-lethal weaponry again. Now, they're not going to let us pass this point, clearly, because you got the 2 fires burning in front of it looks like a fast food store back there, Shep.
Mike, as you're watching there, we're watching a number of cities, including Los Angeles here, where authorities on motorcycles have come around. This is not an enormous crowd. I don't want to misstate this. I want to give you context here. I would say dozens of people, from what I've seen, fewer than 100, but they're clearly blocking off this area around Leimert Park in Los Angeles. Hands in the air, the same sort of demonstrations that we saw there in Ferguson. And the police officers appear to be trying to keep cars out of their way rather than trying to arrest them and create more of an uproar. They've just sort of let it go. And here in New York, the signs continue to move up and down, but no problems of any kind. Mike, certainly not anything like you're seeing there. Go on.
No, and what we're seeing now is that the police are backing up from their position, and we're kind of right now in the middle of the crowd of demonstrators, and they're advancing as the police are backing up. Watch out, you got a pole there, Bobby. And they're backing up. And we're just kind of watching it. It continues with this cat and mouse game. They provoke the police officers. They taunt them with different things. The police officers largely ignore them. And now, though, for whatever reason, they have chosen to back up, and the demonstrators are walking with them. So the numbers are much smaller as far as who was on the street earlier, but you do still have some people who are out here, and you can hear them. They're very vocal.
Audio contact with Mike Tobin while they work to reestablish that. Let's get to Steve Harrigan, who's back up and with us. Steve, none of your crew injured in any way when you were live outside that market, right?
No, Shepard. The only casualty was the camera. Right now I've got 2 iPhones working to show you a beauty supply shop, which has just been set on fire. We've got 2 fire engines in action. The firemen, as we speak, are knocking down the door. If we pan left slowly from that burning building, we've got a McDonald's, which has the windows smashed out and ransacked. And then further left still, Ferguson Market, which has been looted, people running out with bottles of liquor. So a real smoky scene of chaos here on Florissant Avenue. It was the scene of main protests back in August, back when it was 80 degrees. Now that it's in the 30s, a lot of these protesters have been in their cars. It seems like this fire has really thinned out the crowd with the heavy smoke, and you can see those firefighters breaking through the wall right now. A lot of these small businesses in the past hour have been looted. A cell phone store, a liquor store, McDonald's, and this beauty supply shop, as we can see in a pretty rough iPhone picture, is now going up in flames as those firefighters are trying to rescue what they can inside.
Appreciate the iPhone pictures very much, Steve. Stay with it. What happened to the camera? Did somebody hit it? Did it fall? And what about your camera operator?
Camera operator, Dutch, is fine. He was just attacked by a couple guys, mainly intent on smashing the camera, not hurting him. I think they were visibly angry that we were filming the looting.
Well, I know we have video of that looting, and can we, when the control room can get that queued up, I'd like to see that looting and have Steve describe it to us. We were watching it with you on Hannity, and it felt like it was just a sort of crime of opportunity.
Yeah, you know, there's real disparate groups that have been here. You've got the very serious protesters, the potentially violent protesters, and then the people in it just for the joyride who can get what they can. It is like a carnival atmosphere. As you can see, these firefighters now pretty much engulfed by smoke as this beauty supply store really just disappears from our view. I'm going to walk over to this smashed McDonald's. There did seem to be a lot of joy and a lot of excitement, with people smashing the window first and then a second crew really racing in and grabbing what they can. And we've talked to a number of business owners over the past week or so. A lot of them independents, a lot of them really scared, some boarding up their windows, and those few here on Florissant Avenue decided not to, getting hit pretty hard into the late night here, Shepard.
Steve Harrigan on scene. Steve, keep us updated. But we want to show you what's working behind me here. On the far right is the crowds in Ferguson, and we can see many of them very still. In the middle here, if we switch to the next camera, Monster Center, that's Los Angeles, where they now have drums out in the middle of the street, and there is chanting with hands in the air, and the crowd's growing at Times Square in New York, where the police and fire department is out, but the roads are still apparently opened. Back in Ferguson, and Steve Harrigan's iPhone, which is all that's left after demonstrators smashed his camera, you can see the smoke. This isn't tear gas. This is smoke from the fires of the buildings that are burning. A grand jury decides not to indict. The prosecutor explains the reason behind the lack of an indictment. The fact that those particular men and women decided that there was not a true bill here. And yet those who have made decisions in advance to cause rioting and looting and demonstrations in Ferguson and then demonstrations in cities beyond are working their magic tonight. We'll have live coverage throughout the evening. I'm Shepard Smith in New York with the coverage from across America.